Welcome to Speak Out, Stand Out by Green Communications, where we're learning how to help our kids become better communicators. We believe our voices are the strongest asset we have, and our mission is to empower the next generation to use their voices to make a difference in the world around them. Whether you are a parent, an educator, or are just invested in today's youth, we hope this podcast will help you build confidence in our future, one voice at a time. Welcome back to Speak Out, Stand Out. I'm Elizabeth Green, founder of Green Communications, and today's guest is Carrie Conrad, founder of beatingdisaster.com, where Carrie helps parents, specifically moms in the community around the world, right, learn how to de-escalate situations, keep themselves safe in their environment, their relationships, and in their surroundings. And a lot of that comes to fruition at home when we're raising children and trying to raise nonviolent children. So, Carrie, thank you for being here with us today. Do you want to tell us just really quickly a little bit about how you started this, why it's important to you?
Yeah, I actually started doing karate when I was a kid, did that. I had, bad things happen despite being an expert, and I wanted to know why and how. How does that happen? And it led me on a journey to learn so much. And that turned into, I took bodyguard training. I took, I just, every extreme you can think of, all the way from one extreme to peaceful parenting, to nonviolent communication, to all of these things. And these were skills that I didn't have. Yes, I could do violence and I could do passive, but I didn't have anything in between. And so today, over the years, Beating Disaster has evolved to be just self-defense training into teaching parents even how to keep safe from their own kids, because we have a mental health crisis going on in the United States, and moms need that. And that kind of help's just not out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not something we want to talk about necessarily or admit if that's a struggle at home, So I think that's fantastic that you're giving this information, because I'm sure it is so needed in many families. So today we really kind of want to focus on how to deal with argumentative kids, right? And kind of stopping the violence before. There's no such thing, right?
Argumentative children?
Because if we can start there, we can hopefully prevent the issue from getting larger and larger and ultimately turning into violence, right?
Yes. And violence means so much more than people realize. Like, people think there needs to be like punching or blood, and it just doesn't have to do that. Like, when we're harming people intentionally, even with words, that still counts as violence. So that's why like the nonviolent communication is such a big deal. But so we're starting with our children. We got teenagers, tweens, hormones, attitudes. They know everything. When you're dealing with somebody who knows everything, it's very similar to dealing with a violent person, because they're explosive, unpredictable, on edge, irrational. And I mean, like, let's be real. Like, when are they going to lash out and say something mean? All you have to do is say, what? Did you get to the dishes? I mean, like, really, what does it take to set somebody off in that age group? The number one thing is mindset, and looking at, every time I interact with my kids, what is the big picture? What is the goal? Do I want to win an argument, or do I want to win the war? Because that means losing arguments. That means letting things go. And I always tell parents that you can do whatever you want. I am not a parenting expert. I'm not. I have my own kids. I'm very happy with them. I get compliments on my children, but I mean, I only have 3, and every kid is as different as every personality out there, and not one technique works with everybody. However, when it comes to de-escalation, when you're dealing with somebody who's explosive and irrational, when you bring these extreme tactics for like de-escalating a bomb threat, you're bringing stuff that works. The reason why there's such care is because the stakes are so high. So when you take that level of, by the way, empathy, respect, service, you're treating somebody like they're not well, healthy people aren't violent. Happy people aren't violent. They're just, so we can bring that to our kids. And I bring the mindset of my job. What I want for my children is for them to be confident, comfortable, capable, how to navigate situations, how to be a safe person. And that means like the number one thing I could do is be an example. Because my kid, I don't know if your kids listen to what you say, but mine don't really listen to what I say, but they sure do watch what I do. They sure do watch what I do. And I can tell you, my kids say please and thank you. And it's so petty and it's so little. They say please and thank you, not because we go, what do you say? That's not from drilling it in. It's because that's the example that we set for our kids is gratitude. It's just the example that it's my husband and I, these are values that we've chosen to model and make a priority for our family and for our children. For us, it's gratitude and service. That's it. My husband does a lot of service stuff too. So having that mindset, knowing what are your priorities, what is the end result that you want, and then behaving in that. Because if you want your child to respond in a way that is calm and well thought out, is that what you bring to the table? Right. I don't know about you, but I mean, like, there's ages like, I don't know, 2, 3, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. You know what I mean? Like, is that what I'm bringing to the table? Am I bringing the behavior that I want my children to emulate to the table? So again, like having the mindset of knowing my priorities, planning out, pre-planning is so huge. My kids, I don't know about your kids, but they say the same things. They use the same comebacks. They use the same smart response. And by taking the time to reflect on that and to think about like unmet needs, because that's another thing. Like I said, healthy, whole, fulfilled people aren't lashing out, tearing people up, or being mouthy or rude or unkind. They're just not. So what unmet needs do my children have? I mean, you can start a conversation and it can start to go south, and rather than addressing behavior, rather than directly going after the behavior, I mean, it's like, hey, do you want to get a snack? I was thinking about making some popcorn. You want to make some popcorn with me? And it just diffuses. And it doesn't mean the conversation doesn't happen. It just means we started on the wrong foot. I ain't going to go in. If they're already escalated, it's a lot of work to de-escalate somebody rather than just like get out of the moment and start over, So just taking a break, whatever. And then it's like thinking about, do these conversations have to happen right now? Some things, and I'd like to amend that, very few things have to happen right now. You might feel they do, because I don't want them to get away with it. I don't want my kid to be a pig. I don't want their room to look like that. I don't want people, they're going out and their hair's disheveled, or their outfit they're wearing is inappropriate, or it's making me look bad, or we're going somewhere with my friends. You need to be dressed different than that. It's like, how important is it? I get to choose. I work with parents with kids with like difficult behaviors, and it's like, don't pick more than 5. If you're going to work on more than 5 things with your kids, you're not going to get anywhere. 3 is a good number. If you work on 3 things and you limit to addressing only 3 things, the top 3, you can actually get somewhere,
Yeah. It's like, if we were having a meeting with our boss or somebody like that, and we went in and they had 20 things that they wanted us to adjust in our work life, it would be totally overwhelming. So I can totally understand that. If you want anything to stick, you have to narrow it down.
Pick your priorities. And then here's another thing that parents don't like to hear. It takes 2 people to argue.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, my kid's so argumentative. Yeah. What are you bringing to the table? Is it peace and love? Or is it criticism and judgment? Because we want these kids, we want them to grow up to be decent, happy, productive human beings. And it's like, especially in the ages that you're talking about, like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they're tired. Their bodies are changing. They're exhausted. They're exhausted in their own head. they're exhausted in themselves. Like they're just walking around overwhelmed and disgusted with themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they like. They don't know where they fit. And we're like, you did a bad job on the dishes. Go rinse them again. And it's like it's a lot about picking your battles.
Yeah. Well, how do you, the dishes, honestly, that's a huge issue in my house. And there's always an issue with the dishes, and they need to be done every day. So it's, it's a recurring thing. How do we handle it whenever our kids feel like we are upset with them, or we're just telling them, hey, look, this isn't clean, right? I wouldn't want to eat off of this. Next time, we got to make sure we clean it out a little bit better. How do we do that in a way that they don't sense or feel like we're mad at them or disappointed or frustrated? That's a personal thing that happens here. When I try to gently criticize, it is perceived as I'm mad.
But is there gentle criticism? Think about it, of being on the receiving end. You know what I mean? Where do you put your focus? Is it on improving them, or is it on celebrating all that they do right? Because what happens when somebody's cup is full, they want to do more. They want to be more. They have more energy. They have more joy. They have more when they feel good about themselves. People are capable of doing more. You take a person who's depressed, dude, they can't even wash their hair. You know what I mean? Because they're just empty. And again, look at the age group. The hormones are horrible. I don't envy, I don't envy my daughter. I do not envy where she's at all. And so, and then I also need to look at there's two parents in my household. Because of the fact that my husband is more stern, you can't have two people doing the same thing, it's the whole good cop, bad cop. There's gotta be balance there. And because of the fact that my husband is so stern and serious about for example, the dishes, and me, I just make sure that when I pull out a dirty dish, I give it to my daughter who washed the dishes. And then she goes, Mom, this dish is dirty. And I'm like, I wonder who washed the dishes. And that's, or it's or when her friends come over, I give her the dirty dishes. Guess who's washing the dishes better next time? Because she's so embarrassed that Mom, you gave my friend a dirty dish. Came out of the cupboard. It's in the clean pile,
Yeah.
But instead of me being the person instilling the bad feelings, I allow life to do it. Because what am I trying to do when I'm gently criticizing my child? What am I trying to do? I want them to learn how to do better so that they can bring that to the world. Well, them being grossed out by their plate for dinner, that works too. And then I'm not the bad guy. I just you're welcome for setting the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. What do we do whenever, so pick our battles, right? Pick when we're going to say things and how we're going to address things that they need to improve on. Totally get that. But what about just even the times where, their kids, they think that we're always the bad guy, and so I could be saying have a great day, and that's not a good, that's perceived in a negative way when they're in a certain mood and they're teenagers, and like you said, all their hormones and all that. So what do we do when we're I'm not criticizing you, I'm just trying to have a conversation, and you are instantly upset with me? How do we de-escalate that before it turns into so much more?
I say, wow. I can't imagine how bad you feel to respond like that. Is everything okay? Is there something I can, because why would they respond like that? Like you're saying, it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't. So it's when are people reactive? Are they reactive when they're filled with joy? No, they're not reactive when their cup is full. They're reactive because they're not well somewhere. And so same thing with, just poor behavior. It's wow, I can't imagine how bad you feel, or how about the dishes? We'll go back to this, and this is different but it's helpful in the where we were before. But it's like, wow, you must be really excited to go somewhere because you sure did those quick. Unfortunately, like, we might want to do them again though. Did you see that? I mean, like, I because of what you're talking about, I bought clear dishes. I have clear dishes for that reason, because it's just easier. I hold up a plate. Tell me it's clean. I dare you. Like, so the dishes are a perfect example of how I have put energy and effort that has nothing to do with my child. I have done stuff on my end where I have control, where I can do well, where I can be a service to her. Because like I said, at the end of the day, I want her to be excited to have friends over. I want her to be excited, to be grateful for the stuff that we have. I want her to take care of her things, which I don't know that I'm ever going to get that lesson to her head, but and so I put in the effort to do my best, to put everything on my end of the court. So there's only so much on her end of the court so that she has very little to work on, because if there's a problem, there's usually a really bigger problem than not knowing how to do the dishes. You know what I mean? Or not knowing, or not being willing to do the dishes. And another thing too is, like, when people feel bad about themselves, like, what do? We sabotage stuff so people treat us the way that we feel like we deserve to be treated. And that's how I see, like, the teenage years. Like, everything sucks. Everything sucks. Everybody sucks. Just, again, being exhausted and tired, and you're sleeping too much, and get out of bed. You're sleeping too long. And, and it's like they're tired. Their bodies are changing. They're going through so much internally. And then to say, hey, what's wrong? They don't freaking know. They have no idea. They have no idea what's wrong. They're empty. And I know that this is not what this conversation is about, but it's like, for predators, like, this is also a prime age because of the fact that kids feel so bad about themselves. And it's hard as parents when you're around somebody who feels bad about themselves all the time, and you're like, want them to cheer up, and you want them to be productive, and you want them to be happy, and you want them to participate in life, and they're not. It's really frustrating, And then, like, the more I try, the more they resent me, and the more they recede, and the more I'm the problem, and the more, and it's like, this is a really vulnerable time where if they're not being told how wonderful they are, if they're not being told what they're good at, if they're not told how beautiful they are, if they're not pointed out, wow, you did such a great job on this. Wow, you did so awesome on that. Wow, your contribution to the family really makes a difference. If I make a point to be pointing out the contributions that my kid brings to the table on a daily basis, because I know that if I'm not doing that, there's somebody out there who's willing to do it, and I don't know what their motives are. I don't know what their motives are, because all anybody needs is love and connection. That's like the opposite of violence. It's a lack of love and connection and fulfillment and purpose. So, and again, it's more than just like being a violent person, but it's also being available to be victimized. If my cup is full, good luck. Right. What kind of scams would be out there if we didn't have financial hardship? Like, how many scams would there be left? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of them are gone. Like, and that's what it is for kids in this age group. It's like their cup is empty. They're desperate for love and attention and fulfillment. So when you have an argumentative kid, that's my mindset. My mindset is the bigger picture of if I am creating crises at home repeatedly over stuff that maybe isn't that important in the long run, am I setting my kid up to be vulnerable outside of our house? Am I setting my kid up to go need to be consoled by somebody else? And I am 100% not an advocate of not addressing issues. We do. We're just mindful in the way that we do it, and we're selective in making sure that we're picking the stuff that matters and is important. So
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What about if we look at a kid earlier, but to backtrack, you said, it takes two people to argue, right? And we have to admit that. And I know that is a major fault of mine. I like to have the last word. My son is my mini. He likes to have the last word too. So what tips do you have for us as parents to stop, to just know when to stop, and whether it's walk away or, like you said earlier, do a reset before it gets to that point about saying you want to fix a snack or something? What kind of tangible tips that we can we do when we're in the moment and we feel that pressure rising and we need to respond because we know we're right? Well, how can we stop?
It seems so ridiculous, but play and laughter just diffuses like the most horrible stuff. And I mean, like, if it gets to the point that you're yelling, like, you can choose to yell something that's just like, wait, what? You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just like, I just want you to do the dishes. You're like, Mom, you do this to me all the time. You're like, do you know what? I love you and I don't want to be doing this right now. You know, do you want to go get ice cream instead? And it's just like, you know, like, just, it's like, wait, what? Wait, you know? Or like the other day, my daughter was something else the other day, and I just told her, I was like, do you know what? I was like, I'm just going to beat your bad attitude right out of you. How about that? And I like held, and I pulled up my hand, and she's cracking up. She falls on the floor, and she was just like manic just a couple minutes ago, you know, because she didn't have the right outfit. I mean, you know, because everybody else looks really good, and she doesn't have any good clothes to wear. So she's, you know, just a scene. But the thing is like, we think that it has to be so serious. That's a serious problem that needs a serious solution. Well, I mean, like, I don't know. As a woman, I can be irrational and a scene, and, you know, like, what if my husband just says, why don't you go have a glass of tea? Why don't you go make a hot cup of tea? Why don't you go take a break? Like, it works on me. Like, why wouldn't it be okay for, like, why can't I do it with my teenager? Why can't I do it with my tween?
Yeah. And I feel like we need to, or we, as parents, we feel the need to instill a lesson in everything. Like, just like your story about her not having the right clothes, my immediate thought is, well, you have great clothes, you know, be appreciative for what you have, which is not what they need to hear at that time. Right. So that would not de-escalate the situation by disagreeing with them about their opinion, right?
Yeah. I do want to challenge parents to listen more than they talk. What? How are they going to learn the good stuff if I'm not telling them what it is? It's like, so another thing that we do is we teach children, we raise children with a safety plan. And we just have this desire, like, people just want to teach. I'm going to teach you the good and bad and the ugly, and I'm going to teach you how to live in the world. And it's like, the amount of energy and effort it takes to instill that into a person is a lot. It's so much. Do you know how little effort it takes to listen to where a person is at and then just answer a few questions that they have? They get to the same result, but it takes way less effort. So it's just like, find out, where is your kid? Why are the dishes a problem? Now, there's the interrogation questions. That's not helpful. That are just going to shut down and shut you out. And if your kids aren't willing to talk to you, that's a great opportunity to ask yourself why. You know, because we don't talk to people who aren't safe to talk to. Are you safe to talk to? I mean, it's hard, especially at this age, because they're just so difficult. They're argumentative and combative and moody and unpredictable and explosive. And I'm, you know, but that's it though. Like, I am supposed to be the adult. And that's just not fair. And it's really important to have friends to complain to and be like, can you believe this child? Can you believe this? That's where it goes. The nerve, this ungrateful little twit. Like, what the heck? That's where that goes. But when I'm with my kid, it's like, okay, I need to show them how to behave as an adult. Mm-hmm. I need to show them how to behave. I need to show them how to live life, not tell them. But and I can teach them about relationships just by asking them, like, man, the dishes are an issue, like, a lot lately. I don't know. I just feel like it's got to be something more than the dishes. Is everything okay? and just hear. They might say, you never know. Like they might say, the soap stinks and I don't like I don't like how my hands smell from the soap. Like the thing is like the kids say the darndest things if you give them the opportunity. Cause I think it's an issue of not applying yourself and, putting in the effort. And it turned out like the soap makes their hands itchy. It's like, oh, you want to go to the store and get some new soap? You can pick it out. Yeah. Like we just don't know what the problem really is unless we give them the opportunity and be a person that's safe for them to tell that to.
Right. That makes so much sense. It really does. I know that I've said this many times before. My background is a news reporter, and in college we were taught over and over and over to ask a question and stop talking. And because people feel the need to fill the silence. And if we keep talking, obviously they're going to say less and less. But that's something it is hard to do that. It's against human nature to leave room for the silence for them to jump in. But if we actively do it, oftentimes we're surprised by what we hear.
Another thing is I count how many compliments you give in a day and how many criticisms you give in a day.
Oh man, that's
right. Yep. I mean, it takes, for me, it's like, oh, let's just go for balance. Cause at the age that my daughter's at, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm exhausted by all this, and it's like, it's exhausting. But again, my mindset and my motivation is if I am not filling my child's cup, somebody else can. Mm-hmm. And we hope they're safe. Hopefully they're getting their cup filled by safe friends. Hopefully, right. But we don't know. Every person needs a full cup. They're getting it filled somewhere. And if it's not me, who's filling my kid's cup and why are they doing it? Is it for the right reasons? Are they safe?
Right.
So.
Well, we've talked about ways that we can handle the situation when our child is being argumentative towards us. What about between siblings? We're not involved in the conversation. They're just constantly bickering with each other. Any tips or advice on how to deal with that when we're not, it's not like we can just change the subject because they're only talking to us. If there's an issue between siblings, what can we do as parents to redirect?
So I used to be really sure and confident. And then right now I have a 2 and a 3-year-old, and all of the skills that I know that I use applied are man, it works, but it's just it's not fast enough for me. I'd like a quicker solution. And that's just usually not how healthy solutions work out. They're just not immediate right now, but again, we're modeling behavior. And if I want to model codependence and constantly inserting myself in my kids' business, if I want my kids to rely on mommy to fix it all the time, that's what I'm creating. I'm creating people who need somebody else to solve their problems for them. And that's not resilience. That's not, and that's a lot of work on me in the long run. Like I said, I got a 2 and 3-year-old. So let's 2, 3, 18. No, thank you. You know what I mean? They need to figure it out. And, it's my job to help them, but I'm just mindful about how much I insert myself in. Mm-hmm. So these are personal decisions. Everybody has different thresholds on what they're willing to tolerate and what's okay. I do know that people that are raised with siblings are generally more prepared for the world. You know what I mean? They have skills that only children do not because they're raised with the opportunity to learn these things. So I really try to stay out as much as possible. That diversion is really helpful. When before, and this is you mentioned prevention is way better than addressing a problem. It's just, so much better to head things off before they come. If you know that something is a problem, well, then look at that problem and try to see if there's a way to fix that problem. If it's not your business, don't fix it. We're talking about children who are old enough to be like solving their own problems. It doesn't mean they're going to do a good job solving their own problems, but it means this is the age where they need the opportunity to solve their own problems. So it's really more about being a sounding board. It's really more about having conversations at the right time. It is I do encourage people to say things like, hey, I'm really uncomfortable with how you two are talking to each other. And like, that's my one line. You know what I mean? Like, that's my one line. That's me being authentic. That's me being honest. It's me being sincere. But I'm not fixing anything. I'm not changing anything. I'm not inserting myself. I'm just giving them the opportunity to consider that I'm uncomfortable. That doesn't mean they have to. It doesn't mean they're going to. But at least it's like, kind of like a speed bump. And it really depends on the capacity of the two people involved. It depends on how far they go. But with sibling rivalry, I really allow the kids to just figure it out as best they can. And then at the end of the day, share about, it doesn't have to be the end of the day. Like if you have like scheduled time, I recommend parents like have time. Like everybody in the family needs time with just two. You got like the family time, and then you have like dates where people can go. So that's the opportunity to be like, hey, I noticed you and your brother aren't really getting along lately. And they're like, what are you talking about? We're great. Well, now you know that they don't see a problem with it and that I'm the one with the problem. Like that's important. Because like I said, I have a problem with a lot of things that don't even faze my kids. It doesn't bother them. And I'm all like, things need to change. And it's like, well, it's their life. Right. My house, but their room, you know what I mean? Like, it's really important to establish like clear boundaries. Like, this is your space. This is our space. This is, but to say, hey, if you're going to argue like that, you better take it somewhere else. It's not, I'm making dinner. This is my time. You're not going to ruin it with bickering. Please go elsewhere. Or, like having those clear, yours, mine, ours, and even time space. Like the kitchen is mine when it's time to cook on my day. If it's your day to cook, well then, if I'm working in the kitchen and I'm in your way, you have a right to say, hey, do you want me to serve the family dinner? Because if so, go do it somewhere else.
Right.
So again, like prevention, clear boundaries, and then allowing our kids to test out these skills. And it doesn't mean they're going to do well, but I mean, the first time anybody does anything, we don't do it well. That's how we learn, is by doing it poorly and then learning. So it's like really giving the kids the space to do it poorly. And then, usually I recommend that people step in before physical violence. But I mean, I've gotten to the point where I let my kids duke it out just because I'm stepping in so often. And like I said, I was a pro at this before I had two toddlers. So
aren't we all, right? We're all parenting experts until we become parents. Oh, well, these are all really helpful things. And I think that, what you said, just giving them space to fail is such a challenge as a parent, but it is something that's so important that we do and we're mindful of. So I think these were excellent tips. Carrie, if anybody's interested in learning more about what you teach, what you offer, tell us where we can go, what we can find out.
If you go to beatingdisaster.com, we primarily teach self-defense training. It's specifically for moms. We've got some really awesome stuff like bodyguard training for moms using like all your gear that you already have on you, like fun stuff. But even better, we have a Mama Bear membership, and that is a group and emails and online courses all about how we can bring prevention, protection, defense to our everyday life. No matter what ages your kids are at, there are specific courses that are tailored for you on all the things that you need to know, staying safe, negotiating with your teenagers or whatever. Even if you have toddlers, we do that too, but anything that moms need to be physically and emotionally safe in their lives. So that means their relationships at home, relationships out in the world, all of it. So,
yeah. But very, very important that we all feel safe everywhere, right? But especially in our own homes. So thank you, Carrie. We really appreciate all of your insight. So again, that's beatingdisaster.com. We'll be sure to link to that in the show notes. And again, really appreciate all your insight and your time today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
If you are looking for more ways to build communication skills in your kids, grab our free mini lesson on how to craft a polished and professional speech out of thin air, along with 52 fun prompts so your kids can practice every single week. You can find that along with info about our upcoming public speaking and debate courses for kids at greencommunicationsedu.com.